When I started posting consistently on my social media, my brands and my products just really skyrocketed in terms of my business. There was this one point of time year over year where I was 1,088%, 1088% year over year. And that growth, no matter where you are, is absolutely crazy. When people ask me what I did to get that growth, that was really the answer that I found. I was posting consistently, I was connecting with customers, I was showing up, reminding them that I was there, that I had cool products that they should check out. And that's really what I am trying to coach businesses on, is really sharing the behind the scenes, sharing who you are, creating that personal brand on Instagram. And a large part of that is posting consistently. Ever since I established my content flow and my content creation, workflow and ideas, I never ever run out of ideas of what I can post about. And I really wanted to share today why and how that is, and kind of my strategies and principles behind that growth. The first thing we really need to do when we want to figure out a content strategy for yourself and to create this consistent content that you won't run out of is to take a step back and look at what you define as marketing in general. Some people think marketing is really complicated and they do all these complicated calendars and batching and scheduling out posts, and none of that is necessarily bad. But what I would really recommend that you do is that you kind of redefine marketing not as a system that you really need to do to grow your business, but simply as an expression of your brand. And what I mean by expression of your brand is really to look at why you created your brand in the first place, why you are selling the products that you are selling, what makes you excited about that, and figure out a way to kind of leverage that excitement in a systematic way to reach customers through marketing. Marketing is simply taking the behind the scenes and what you're working on, really what you're really passionate about, and even what you're struggling with, and sharing that organically to have that customer connection to make your brand stand apart from others. When you take other people's marketing ideas and when you take other people's content calendar ideas, it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? There's always inspiration that you're going to find by scrolling and talking to other people, but you really need to remember that it really should be a 20% taking other people's ideas and other people's posts and 80% making your own. That's really the 80-20 rule that I live by. If I'm scrolling for 20 minutes, I better be producing content for another 80 minutes, because if you scroll too much, what you're going to start to see is trends, and you're going to start to see patterns that you might want to try and fit into. And that's not a good thing, because it will really feel very forced and very fake, because it's not from a genuine place of excitement from you. It is just trying to fit into the mold of what's working for other people. If you're starting your own business, that means you had the drive, that means you have the passion to get over all these things that are very hard to start your own business. So look into yourself to find that kind of motivation and what really inspired you to build the business, and use that to create your own content and to really figure out how you can share what you're excited about. It's really about what you are passionate about, not what everyone else that says that you should be passionate about, and how everyone else says you should be sharing the content that you should be sharing. Similarly to that, I have a hot take, which is that I don't think you should have a content calendar. I don't think people that kind of advise having a content calendar and batching out that content really understand the heart of organic marketing. I really feel like organic marketing should be kind of an integration into the systems that you're already doing in your business when you are working on your business, because when you have an organic marketing, you're really, again, sharing about those things that excite you, hopefully on a week-to-week basis. If you're planning out your content 2 or 3 months in advance, I tried doing that, right? I tried doing that in my corporate job. And what we really find is that when you schedule out content 3 months later, you almost forget that you were excited about that. You see it kind of get auto posted and you're like, oh yeah, I was once excited about this, but you don't feel that connection in the moment, and customers can really feel that, right? So I'm not saying scheduling is necessarily bad, but you really need to figure out a system where you are creating content and scheduling it, but still able to be excited about it when it does come out and when you post about it. When you follow other people's content calendars, or when you have a content calendar of your own that you're trying to adhere by, and a schedule of Monday, I need to make this kind of reel, and Tuesdays I post it, what I kind of find is that your life and your business start to get defined by your marketing and not the other way around, right? You're not inspired and you're not figuring out what your business is working on that you are excited to share about. Customers can very, very easily see through the BS that people have nowadays. And I feel like you really need to have that kind of emotional connection that you genuinely feel what you feel when you are posting it. That really comes through with customers. Obviously, you still need to create content, and obviously that's still very hard to do because it takes a lot of time and a lot of inspiration. But what I would really encourage you to do is to experiment and try and and find a strategy that you can integrate in the business practices that you are already doing. So every single time I start something new and I'm not really sure how it's going to fit in my workflow, what I like to do is I like to kind of set SMART goals, which I talked about in an earlier video, but SMART goals for a certain amount of time, usually 3 months, where all I do is execute. All I do is try and make random stuff for fun for 3 months, and I don't really have an expectation of how it will do, of how many comments or likes or engagement I'm supposed to get. I just execute for fun for about 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, then I allow myself to look back and say, what did well? What can I double down on? What didn't do well? What do I need to pivot off of, right? Because a lot of times we have an idea for one reel, one content post. We post it and then we're like, oh man, that did really, really bad, so I'm never gonna do it again. Or wow, that did really good. And you do the same thing, you expect the same result over and over again, right? But what that doesn't allow you to do is find a larger amount of aggregate data that you're able to kind of reflect on in a more holistic way than just seeing one single point in time. The strategy I always recommend my coaching clients start on for Instagram is something that I haven't heard a lot of people really talk about, which is Instagram stories. I really love Instagram stories because it is super non-committal in the sense that it disappears within 24 hours. So if you feel stupid or you're trying to just like figure something out, you don't have to worry because it's going to be gone in 24 hours. And you really have the archives to look back on it and reflect on it. And it doesn't have as permanent of a home as something as a post or a reel. Instagram stories feels very experimental in that way. And that's really where I'm experimenting with my customers, asking them what products they want to see, interacting with them in a very engaging and very casual kind of way that invites them into my life and my business life that will make my brand very strong and stand out to other businesses that don't really show that kind of behind the scenes and the kind of process. From posting on Instagram stories, which is really what I did 3 years ago when I saw my scale skyrocket, from there, I was really able to develop a real strategy that I'm now using and posting in that and kind of pivot. And even this YouTube series and YouTube channel that I'm now experimenting with really came from me producing story content, me knowing it's not a long life, and me knowing that it's a very experimental thing that I can really get real-time customer data and their opinions on in my DMs. That's largely why I focus so much on my time teaching on Instagram stories and talking about Instagram stories, because I think it's a very underutilized tool that I just don't see a lot of people talking about. And I'm like, don't sleep on Instagram stories, because that is really where I built my business and was able to get so much revenue with so little followers that I just didn't think it could be possible, because you would normally think you need a very large social following to get that kind of revenue from social media that I did. From posting on Instagram stories nearly every day and figuring out my system of how I'm going to use Instagram stories to promote my products and talk about my behind the scenes, have I really gotten those ideas for content that really is like a churning machine. Like I have a Trello board full of hundreds of ideas for reels and content and YouTube videos and things I can Insta story about and ways to promote my product that I don't have enough time to even get through it. So I'm not sitting there being like, oh, what content should I post about? I can just go to my board and visit it, and I know exactly what I'm going to post about because I've really figured out how to post on Instagram stories and know exactly how my life is inspiring my business and my marketing and not the other way around. This is the thing that I'm really passionate about coaching other small businesses from. I totally understand that marketing can be something that is really overwhelming. Like there's a lot of creators that like to create their products but not like to sell their products. But I think that marketing has a really bad rap, and a lot of people think it needs to be a lot more complicated than it is, when really it is just figuring out how to share that inspiration and excitement you have your product and telling other people what you already know, which is that your product is unique and awesome and really, really heartfelt, and you have customers that will relate to that message. I really, really promise you. If you want to work with me in any way, shape, or form, please check out the link below, because I love chatting with other solopreneurs and entrepreneurs figuring out how to grow their business. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.